The gleaming white halls of the Galactic Council's diplomatic vessel hummed with its usual quiet energy as Ambassador Tom Reed walked toward his office. His footsteps echoed against the polished floor, and the stars streaked past the large windows, creating endless lines of light in the darkness of space. It was supposed to be another ordinary day of managing Earth's relationships with the vast array of alien species that made up the Galactic Council. It wasn't. The moment Tom entered his office, his assistant's face told him something was wrong. The young man's usually composed features were tight with worry, his hands clutching a datapad so hard his knuckles had turned white. "Sir, we've received an urgent report from the Outer Rim," he said, voice barely steady. "It's about the missing children." Tom's heart skipped a beat. Over the past 3 years, several tragic accidents had resulted in the loss of human children during space travel. Each incident had been investigated, each loss mourned. But something in his assistant's voice suggested this wasn't about finding wreckage. "Show me," Tom said, his voice carrying the weight of authority earned through 15 years of diplomatic service. The holographic display sparked to life in the center of his office, showing images that made his blood run cold. Children, human children, floating in containment units, their faces peaceful as if sleeping, but the medical equipment and monitoring devices attached to them told a different story. They were test subjects. These images were taken at a research facility run by the Bright Minds, his assistant explained. A routine inspection by the Council's Science Ethics Committee found them by accident. "Sir, there are 23 children in total." Tom's hands clenched into fists. The Bright Minds were one of the most advanced species in the galaxy, known for their pure logical approach to science and their groundbreaking research. They were also known for their complete lack of understanding when it came to emotions and social bonds. "Those accidents," Tom said slowly, his mind racing. "They weren't accidents at all, were they?" "No, sir. The preliminary report suggests the Bright Minds have been collecting samples. They've been studying humanity's unusual ability to adapt and innovate under pressure." His assistant, swallowed hard. They wanted to understand why human children show particularly high levels of these traits. Tom stared at the floating images of the children. A girl, no more than 10, her dark hair floating around her face like a halo. A boy, maybe 13, his hands twitching even in suspended animation as if trying to solve a puzzle. Each face struck him like a physical blow. The Bright Minds had made a terrible mistake. They had based their actions on logic, on the pursuit of knowledge, on their clinical understanding of species preservation. But they had failed to account for one crucial factor: human nature. Tom reached for his communication panel, his movements deliberate and controlled despite the rage building inside him. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Stone," he ordered. "Then contact every human representative in the Council. I want an emergency session called within the hour." As his assistant hurried to comply, Tom looked back at the children's faces. In all his years of diplomatic service, he had learned to be patient, to understand different perspectives, to find peaceful solutions. But this was different. "One more thing," he called to his assistant. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we found their children." The stars continued their endless dance outside his window as Tom prepared for what would become one of the most significant diplomatic crises in human-alien relations. The Bright Minds were about to learn why every spacefaring race had one universal rule: never harm the young of other species. But they were about to learn something even more important: never, ever harm human children. The storm was coming, and it would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Hundreds of representatives from different species filled the circular room, their voices a mix of clicked, hummed, and whispered conversations. At the center stood a raised platform where Dr. Blue, the lead researcher of the Bright Minds, was trying to explain their actions. "Our research is vital to understanding human adaptability," Dr. Blue said, his tall, slender form glowing slightly with bioluminescent patterns, a sign of confidence in his species. "The subjects are well cared for and—" "Subjects." Ambassador Tom Reed's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Everyone turned to look at the human representative. He stood at his podium, and unlike his usual diplomatic calm, his face was red with anger. "Those are children. Our children. Children you kidnapped." Dr. Blue's glow patterns shifted to show confusion. Kidnapped is an incorrect term. We simply relocated developing humans to a controlled environment for scientific observation. Their nutritional and educational needs are met at the highest standard. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Many species looked uncomfortable. Even if they didn't fully understand human emotions, they knew enough about humans to sense the growing danger in the room. "Show them," Tom demanded, his voice steady but filled with cold fury. "Show everyone what you did." The chamber's central display came to life, showing recordings from the research facility, children in containment units, medical logs, testing schedules. But what caught everyone's attention were the clips of the children when they were awake, crying, calling for their parents, trying to comfort each other through the transparent walls of their cells. The subjects show remarkable social bonding behaviors, Dr. Blue continued, seemingly oblivious to the growing tension. Their attempts to escape, while disruptive to our research, demonstrate the very adaptability we wish to study. Just last month, Subject 11 managed to rewire her containment unit's entertainment system into a crude communication device. Fascinating problem-solving skills for a 9-year-old specimen. Tom's hands gripped his podium so hard the metal creaked. "Her name," he said through clenched teeth, "is Emma. She likes drawing horses and wants to be an astronaut. She's not Subject 11. She's a little girl who was stolen from her family." The chamber grew quiet. Even Dr. Blue's glow patterns dimmed slightly. "I don't understand your emotional response," Dr. Blue said. "We are advancing scientific knowledge." The subjects. Children. Several human representatives shouted at once. "The children," Dr. Blue corrected, "are contributing to crucial research. Their unique abilities could help many species. Surely the advancement of science justifies." "Let me make something very clear," Tom interrupted, his voice now deadly quiet. "In the next 48 hours, those children will be returned to their families. If they're not, what happens next won't be handled by diplomats." Dr. Blue's glow patterns shifted to show surprise. "Is that a threat, Ambassador Reed? Surely you understand that the Bright Minds technology far surpasses human capabilities. Any aggressive action would be illogical and futile." Tom smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. "You've studied our children, but you clearly don't understand humans at all. When it comes to protecting our young, we don't care about logic. We don't care about superior technology. We don't even care about diplomatic consequences." He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of species. "Earth has already been notified. Our fleet is mobilizing. You have 48 hours to do the right thing, or you'll learn firsthand why even the most advanced species in the galaxy think twice before making humans angry." The chamber erupted in chaos as Tom walked out, leaving behind a very confused Dr. Blue, whose glow patterns were now showing the first signs of worry. The Bright Minds were about to learn that there are some lines you don't cross, not if you want to survive the consequences. Admiral Jane Stone stood on the bridge of the EDF Phoenix, Earth's most advanced warship, watching as her fleet took position around the Bright Minds research facility. 6 destroyers, 3 cruisers, and 12 fast attack vessels moved into a perfect battle formation. Each ship carried crews who had volunteered the moment they heard about the kidnapped children. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "the Bright Minds are sending another message." Jane straightened her uniform. "Put them through." A holographic image appeared on the bridge, showing Dr. Blue's tall form. His bioluminescent patterns were pulsing rapidly, a sign that the Bright Minds were finally starting to worry. "This display of military force is unnecessary," Dr. Blue said. "Our defensive systems are far superior to your weapons. Your ships would be disabled before they could fire a single shot." Jane smiled. Not a warm smile, but the kind of smile that made her crew glad they weren't her enemies. "You know what I find interesting, Doctor? You keep telling us how superior your technology is, but you haven't actually told us to leave. Dr. Blue's patterns flickered. We are merely trying to avoid unnecessary conflict. The research subjects. Children, Jane corrected sharply. The children are perfectly safe. There is no logical reason for this aggressive response. Jane walked closer to the hologram. Let me tell you about human logic, Doctor. Right now, I have parents of those children serving on these ships. Do you know what that means? I fail to see the relevance. It means, Jane continued, that I have crew members who would fly their ships straight into your facility if they thought it would save their kids. Your superior technology doesn't matter. Your defensive systems don't matter. Nothing matters except getting those children back. The bridge crew watched as Jane pointed to a display showing the fleet formation. See these ships, the ones closest to your facility. They're crewed entirely by volunteers. Parents, older siblings, family members of the children you took. They know the risks. They don't care. Dr. Blue's patterns showed confusion. Such actions would be suicidal. No species would sacrifice adult members to save offspring that aren't even in immediate danger. That's where you're wrong, Jane said. Humans would. Humans have. Throughout our history, we've thrown ourselves against impossible odds to protect our children. It's not about logic. It's about love. She turned to her tactical officer. Show them what the Phoenix can do. A small asteroid, about half a kilometer wide, floated near the research facility. The Phoenix's main gun charged up, its energy readings climbing far higher than the Bright Mind sensors had predicted possible for human technology. When it fired, the beam didn't just break the asteroid, it vaporized it completely. That, Jane said calmly, was at 10% power. Would you like to see what happens at full strength? Dr. Blue's patterns had shifted to a color the crew had never seen before. This level of weapon advancement wasn't in our data. Of course it wasn't. We've been holding back, playing nice. But you took our children, Doctor. That means the gloves come off. Jane's voice turned ice cold. You have 24 hours left. Use them wisely. After the transmission ended, Jane's second-in-command approached her. Admiral, that gun blast used up 30% of our power reserves. We couldn't actually fire at full strength. Jane's smile returned. They don't know that. And by the time they figure it out, it won't matter. She turned to look at the research facility through the main viewport. Because if they don't return those children, they'll learn that humans don't need superior technology to be dangerous. We just need a reason to fight. The fleet held its position, its ships running lights cutting through the darkness of space like stars. They were ready to show the galaxy why taking human children was the last mistake anyone would ever make. In the dim light of the research facility's maintenance tunnels, Green pressed his back against the cold wall, his natural bioluminescence dimmed to almost nothing. As a junior researcher for the Bright Minds, he had never expected to become what his species would call a traitor. But after months of watching the human children, he couldn't ignore what was right anymore. His communication device buzzed softly, a secure channel to the human fleet. "This is Green," he whispered. "I'm ready to transmit the facility layouts." "Received," came Admiral Stone's voice. "Are you safe?" Green almost laughed. Safe. He was betraying the most advanced species in the galaxy. "The children are more important than my safety," he replied, surprising himself with how much he meant it. He had started observing the children 6 months ago, expecting to see simple test subjects. Instead, he saw something that changed him forever. He saw 12-year-old Jack teaching the younger ones math to keep their minds sharp. He watched 8-year-old Lisa comfort others who cried at night. He observed 14-year-old Mike organizing escape attempts that grew more clever each time. They weren't test subjects. They were amazing. "Sending facility defense layouts now," Green said, connecting his device to a data port. "The main shield generator is here." He marked the location. "But there's something more important you need to know." "Go on," Admiral Stone encouraged. "The children. They've been working together. Remember the communication device subject? I mean, Emma created. It wasn't just for entertainment. They've been reprogramming their containment units, bit by bit. They're incredibly smart, adapting to use our own technology against us. There was a pause on the other end. How many containment units have they compromised? All of them, Green said, unable to keep the admiration from his voice. Dr. Blue doesn't know. The children only make small changes, things that don't show up on standard scans. But they're ready. They're just waiting for a chance. Green's patterns flickered with anxiety as he heard footsteps in a nearby corridor. He pressed closer to the wall, holding his breath until they passed. The bright minds don't understand, he continued. They think they're studying human adaptability, but they're experiencing it firsthand. These children, they've created their own society in there. They protect each other. They teach each other. They never give up. Why are you helping us? Admiral Stone asked. You're risking everything. Green thought about Lisa, who had smiled at him every morning despite being a captive. About Jack, who had asked him questions about science, even while trying to figure out ways to escape. About Mike, who looked at him not with hate, but with hope that he would eventually understand. Because watching them taught me something my species has forgotten. Green said, there are things more important than pure logic. The children showed me that. He sent another data burst. These are the patrol schedules. And here, he marked another location, is a maintenance airlock with minimal security. A small team could enter here. Thank you, Admiral Stone said softly. We'll make sure you're protected when this is over. Green's patterns showed a mix of fear and determination. Don't worry about me. Just get them home. He paused, hearing more footsteps. One more thing. The children know you're coming. I've seen them watching the fleet through the observation windows. They're ready. How do you know? Because they're smiling again, Green said. And if there's one thing I've learned about humans, it's that when they smile like that, the impossible becomes possible. As Green disconnected the communication, he felt strangely at peace. His species might call him a traitor, but watching those children had taught him a new kind of logic, one that came from the heart rather than the mind. And for the first time, he truly understood why the humans were willing to fight so hard to protect it. Captain Mark Wells and his team floated silently in the maintenance airlock of the research facility. 6 specially trained soldiers, each one a parent themselves, waited for his signal. Their black armor absorbed the dim light, making them nearly invisible. Remember, Mark whispered through the team's comm system, we're not just soldiers today. We're every parent's hope of seeing their child again. The airlock cycle completed with a soft hiss. They were in. Through their helmet displays, they could see the facility layout provided by Green. The children's containment area was 3 levels down. Between them and their target were patrol routes, security systems, and some of the most advanced alien technology in the galaxy. Mark smiled behind his helmet. The bright minds were about to learn that no technology in the universe could stop a group of determined humans. Team 2, start the distraction, he ordered. Across the facility, the human fleet began a series of complex maneuvers, drawing the bright minds' attention to space. Alert signals flashed through the facility's corridors as defense systems activated. Move, Mark commanded, and his team glided through the corridors like shadows. They encountered their first patrol at the second intersection. 2 Bright Minds researchers, their bioluminescent patterns showing confusion at the fleet's movements. Before the aliens could react, Mark's team had already disabled them with stun weapons and hidden their unconscious forms in a storage room. First hurdle cleared, Mark reported. How's our inside man doing? Green reports all security systems in Section C are experiencing unexpected maintenance issues. His communications officer replied. The team could hear the smile in her voice. They reached the first security door. According to their intel, it should have been impossible to breach without setting off every alarm in the facility. But Green had told them something interesting. The children had already compromised it. Mark pressed his hand against the control panel. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then, as Green had promised, the door slid open silently. Through the gap, they could see a small hand waving from one of the containment units. The children were ready. "20 meters to the main containment room," Mark said. "Watch for." Alarms suddenly blared through the facility, but they weren't security alarms. "Fire suppression system activated in Research Wing B," a calm computer voice announced. "All personnel please evacuate." "That wasn't part of the plan," Mark's second-in-command said. Mark laughed. "No, that was the kids." Green said they had a few surprises ready. They reached the main containment room just as its staff was hurrying out, more concerned about the non-existent fire than watching for intruders. Inside, 23 containment units glowed softly in the dim light. 23 faces pressed against the transparent walls, grinning. "Stand back, kids," Mark called out. He pulled out a device that looked like a simple tablet. Another gift from Green. A master control override. The containment units didn't just open. They shut down completely, their power dying with a satisfying hum. The children were already moving, the older ones helping the younger ones, just as they had practiced in secret. "Uncle Mark," a small voice called out. Mark turned to see his niece Emma, the one who had rewired the entertainment system. She was helping a younger boy walk on shaky legs. "Hey, troublemaker," he said softly. "Ready to go home?" Before she could answer, a new alarm sounded. Real this time. "Multiple intruders detected in Research Wing C," the computer announced. "Security teams responding." "Time to move," Mark ordered. He picked up 2 of the smallest children, while his team helped the others. "Formation Delta," just like we practiced. As they moved out, Mark couldn't help but notice how the children immediately fell into organized groups, the older ones protecting the younger ones. They had trained for this too, he realized. While the bright minds thought they were studying human children, these kids had been preparing for their own rescue. The real fight was about to begin. But now, they were ready. And the bright minds were about to learn why humans would cross galaxies, fight impossible odds, and challenge the most advanced species in the universe, all to bring their children home. 2 days after the rescue, aboard the EDF Phoenix, Admiral Stone sat in her office reviewing the recovered logs from the research facility. On her screen, video recordings played one after another, showing what the children had endured, and more importantly, how they had survived. The first recording showed the day Emma figured out how to hack the entertainment system. The bright minds had thought she was just playing games. They didn't notice her fingers moving in patterns, teaching others through the transparent walls. They didn't realize she was showing them the facility's computer language, one small lesson at a time. Another recording showed Jack, the 12-year-old who became their unofficial teacher. During what the bright minds thought were simple exercise periods, he was actually running classes. Math, science, and most importantly, everything they could learn about their captor's technology. "Look at this one," Green said from where he sat across from the Admiral. After helping with the rescue, he had been granted asylum on the Phoenix. They never understood what they were seeing. The screen showed Mike, the oldest at 14, organizing what looked like simple children's games. But Admiral Stone could see it now. They were practicing escape routes. Every game of tag was really a drill. Every round of hide and seek was training for using the facility's blind spots. They worked together perfectly, Green said, his patterns showing amazement. The younger ones would act extra cute and distract the guards. The middle ones would create small problems to keep the staff busy. And the older ones used those distractions to work on the containment systems. A new recording started. Lisa, one of the youngest at 8 years old, was crying in her containment unit. 2 researchers rushed to check on her, not noticing Jack in the next unit quickly typing commands into his entertainment screen. "We thought she was just emotionally unstable," Green admitted. "We didn't realize they were timing the guard rotations." Admiral Stone smiled. Never underestimate a child's ability to adapt. She pulled up another file. The children's interviews after the rescue. "They thought we were just test subjects," Mike had said in his interview. "But we were learning about them too. Every test they ran showed us how their technology worked. Every time they studied us, we studied them back." Emma's interview was next. I figured out their computer system wasn't that different from the games they gave us to play. They thought we were just having fun, but we were actually practicing. Every game taught us something new. The youngest children had played their part too. Their interviews revealed how they had formed a tight support network. They sang songs to each other through the walls at night. They made up stories about their rescue. They never lost hope. "What amazes me," Admiral Stone said, "is that not one of them broke. Not one of them gave up. They kept each other strong." Green's patterns shifted to show what humans would recognize as sadness. We thought we were observing human adaptability. We didn't realize we were seeing human spirit. The final recording showed the moment the rescue team arrived. The children didn't panic or rush. They moved with purpose, helping each other just as they had practiced. Even the smallest ones knew exactly what to do. They weren't just surviving, Admiral Stone realized. They were building their own little army. She turned to Green. "Your people wanted to understand what makes humans special. Well, there it is. We don't just adapt. We help each other adapt. We don't just survive. We make sure everyone survives together." Green watched as the screen showed the children reuniting with their families. "I understand now," he said softly. The bright minds thought they were studying human weakness, their emotional bonds, their need to protect each other. But those weren't weaknesses at all. "No," Admiral Stone agreed. "Those were our greatest strengths, and thanks to these children, the whole galaxy knows it now." The recordings continued to play, a testament to 23 children who had turned captivity into resistance, fear into courage, and isolation into unity. They had shown the galaxy that humanity's greatest power wasn't in its weapons or technology. It was in its heart. 1 month after the rescue, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different. The Bright Minds representatives sat in a special section, their patterns dim with what their species considered shame. Dr. Blue was no longer among them. He had been removed from his position and faced charges for his actions. Ambassador Tom Reed stood at the central podium, but this time he wasn't angry. He was proud. Beside him stood Emma, now chosen to speak for all the rescued children. At 10 years old, she was about to address the most powerful gathering in the galaxy. The Bright Minds thought they could study what makes humans special. Emma said, her voice clear and strong. "They thought keeping us in cages would show them our secrets, but they learned the wrong lesson." The chamber was silent. Even species that usually buzzed or hummed stayed quiet to hear this human child speak. "They wanted to see how we adapt, but they didn't understand why we adapt," she continued. "We don't do it just to survive. We do it to help others survive too." Every kid in those cells worked together. We became a family. Green, now Earth's official cultural advisor, watched from the human section. His patterns glowed with what he had learned to recognize as pride. The children he had helped rescue had taught him more about humanity than years of research ever could. "Your reports say we showed unexpected problem-solving skills," Emma said, looking directly at the Bright Minds section. "But that's what humans do. We don't just face problems, we solve them together. We don't just endure, we help others endure too." Admiral Stone, standing at the back of the chamber, smiled as Emma pulled out a small device, the same entertainment system she had hacked during her captivity. "This isn't just a game machine anymore," Emma explained. "We turned it into something else because we had to. But we didn't keep the knowledge to ourselves. We taught each other. Every kid in there learned something and taught something." The device projected a hologram showing complex computer code, the work of 23 children who had refused to be just test subjects. "We're not angry anymore," Emma said, surprising many in the chamber. "We learned something too. We learned that even the smartest people can make mistakes when they don't understand each other's hearts." Ambassador Reed stepped forward. "The children have asked to be part of the new cross-species understanding program. They believe their experience can help prevent similar mistakes in the future." The chamber erupted in murmurs of surprise. The victims were volunteering to become teachers. The Bright Minds wanted to study human adaptability. Emma continued, "Well, Here it is. We adapt by turning bad experiences into chances to help others. We adapt by choosing to make things better instead of being bitter. Therefore, Ambassador Reed announced, Earth proposes a new division of the Galactic Council, the Children's Rights and Protection Agency, and these brave young humans have volunteered to be its first advisors. The chamber filled with the sounds of agreement. Species that had never understood human emotional bonds were beginning to see their value. As the session ended, Emma walked over to the Bright Minds section. The aliens' patterns showed uncertainty, but she just smiled. "We forgive you," she said simply. "Now, would you like to learn how we really work? Not by studying us in cells, but by working with us as friends." The Bright Minds patterns shifted to show what humans would recognize as hope. Later, aboard the Phoenix, Admiral Stone watched Earth grow larger in the view screen. The children were finally going home, but they weren't returning as victims. They were returning as heroes who had taught the galaxy a powerful lesson. They wanted to understand human adaptability, she said to Green, who stood beside her. Instead, they experienced human nobility. Green's patterns glowed with understanding. Perhaps that was the greatest discovery of all. The stars streaked past as the ship headed home, carrying 23 children who had changed the galaxy not through force or fear, but through courage, cooperation, and an unbreakable spirit that no containment unit could ever hold.